Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, I am the one and only Pac-Man here, and I'm Ray the Flying Squirrel here, and I'm Mighty the Armadillo here, and we are back for yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, as always. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of the Simpsons Hit and Run for the Nintendo GameCube, PlayStation 2, Xbox, and PC. So, last time, we have essentially managed able to get started with the forms within the final level in the game, which is of course level 7, and as a result, so far, we actually got into the halfway point. So as a result though, today for this video, is the fact that we're about to be able to still continue things on for the likes of the forms within level 7. So, yeah, we figured we might as well able to actually just to keep on, you know, exploring and stuff, and exponentially, we're about to able to get started with some later missions, so...
I need to find some nuclear waste, and fast!
Why don't you ask Mr. Burns? His buried nuclear waste has poisoned Springfield for years to come.
Good old Mr. Burns. He'll save us. Thank goodness for nuclear waste.
So of course we're going to be right on to the forms within the next mission. There's something about Monty, so yeah, we need to quickly get out of the school because obviously we need to be able to hop into the vehicle for almost instantly. So now we need to drive back onto the forms of the nuclear power plant. So in this case though, let's just go ahead and use the 70s sports car again, so just in case we can able to actually have ourselves an easier time trying to drive for that particular part itself. So now let's go in and go into the actual power plant. So, and because of this though, I've noticed about the fact that despite the fact that we can't go inside the actual nuclear power plant with all that workstation and stuff like that, because it turns out that that particular UFO just somehow managed able to get crashed onto the forms of that particular nuclear power plant. So my guess is the fact that it might be something to do with the aliens is involved. So, but of course we need to get away from that particular, the car right there, so just in case we don't want to able to actually just to get caught and all that stuff though. So, but thankfully we somehow managed to accomplish it. Now, apparently though, some people might find this mission to be kind of difficult, probably because of that one little thing about the forms of this mission is going to throw us off. That might be something to do with the ending portion, because for the most part, the driving portions is not too bad. However though, in the ending portion though, this is where things gets a little bit more troublesome for most people. Because, as far as I'm aware, that remember what I said before about the fact that, you know, there was actually the forms of that particular platforms we need to able to drive into. Yeah, despite the fact that you just got busted again, so yeah, that really does stink on my part, so, but that's okay though, because we still managed able to make it anyway, so yeah, because after all, the timer itself stops, so if you think we've done, well, turns out we're not done yet, because we're now able to come onto the wreckage to the forms of Mr. Burns' office, so, and what do I mean by that though? This particular segment is going to be way higher in order to able to climb it all the way up. So, yeah, if you know about the fact that you might able to actually do so well for able to actually just try to able to climb onto that particular things itself, but next thing you know is the fact that you might potentially going to get yourself screwed over for the sake of the forms of some Tron-era platforming. So because of this though, yeah, I think that's what many people found this to be one of the most trickiest aspect about the forms of this particular mission and stuff like that. So, yeah, I can totally see how this is going, especially because, well, to be expected, we almost nearly at the end of the game. So, yeah, I can totally see why a lot of people seem to have a lot of frustration with this platforming segment, especially noticeable, like, if you dare slip off, then basically, though, is the fact that you have to go all the way back up. But thankfully, there's no time limit or anything, so, yeah, you can able to actually just try to able to continue proceeding for this for the most part. So it's just the fact that despite you able to actually constantly you're going to be hearing yourself with the entirety of this very cheerful music in the background. So that might be something worth classifying for noticing this, especially noticeable because, well, then again though, that there's nothing you can do about it, unless if you try to mute the music or something like that during the options menu, and of course that you cannot able to actually do, because obviously that we're still on the current mission. So as a result though, if we accidentally select restart mission or cancel mission, then you have to go all the way back all over again, fill to the brim with all, like, you know, traffic and pedestrians and you name the rest. So Yeah, I guess that probably explains it for the sake of time, though, so,
In your face!
But no, we finally made it, so that only does matters to us, though, so, that should be a pretty pleasant surprise. So, yeah, and I totally forgot to realize there's actually some trap floors here and there, so, but, at least potentially speaking, though, is the fact that we actually stumbled across into, not only the wasp camera, but also that there was actually the forms of the collector card in there, too. But I somehow keep on falling off like nothing else, but thankfully you can able to restart at the beginning, so... But at least you already deal with the forms of the wasp camera immediately, so, but no, I'm not done with this yet, because I need to grab that collector card, there we go. Yeah, just in case that, you won't be able to missing out on much, so... Alright, let's have a look at the progression here, 55.4. Doesn't look that much for our progression's sake, but regardless of everything else though, we did pretty alright, so... So I just need to focus right now, and there you go.
Must never.
Ooh, odds budkins, is it you, Merryweather? Come to haunt me again? I killed you once.
Mr. Burns, it's me, Homer Simpson.
So you're not the ghost of my former partner. Whew. Well, that was... Well,
Look, I need to get some barrels of radioactive waste to save Springfield from the aliens.
I agree. Illegal aliens are a nuisance.
Not leaf blower aliens, tentacle aliens.
Go. In that case, here's the map to where I buried nuclear waste barrels all over Springfield. And the EPA wanted to find me. Bleeding heart liberals. I hope they bleed from the heart.
Okay, so this is where we begin of one of those, missions that you remember when we, mentioned this before. But, first off, let me grab the map and blast it all the way back to the beginning of that particular, like, you know, the trap floor segment. And then every once in a while, we need to find the vehicle somewhere, which is potentially over there. And now we need to able to grab the nuclear waste barrel from the actual power plant. So at the very least that we can able to actually do it from here. So now we need to do this again, except now we have to use your own vehicle. So because of this though, and believe me, this is going to be our second time for doing this, because we already technically did one from the likes of the hover car, and now we're going to be doing this again for the likes of the forms of your own car. It doesn't matter what vehicle you choose, so as a result though, it's all depending on the forms of how good the status was. So, and on top of all that stuff though, we have to do 2 more times, and during at some point on part 2 and part 3. Well, to be more specifically though, that these 2 missions coming up might actually be one of the toughest missions ever. Well, should we say though, the final mission in the game might actually be considerably the hardest, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. So today's date is of course the 25th of July today, in this case in 2022 today. Not much else is going on, I'm afraid, apart from the fact that, well, we've only got about 4 more days to go until Xenoblade Chronicles 3 for the Nintendo Switch will be releasing, so that way it'll get the entirety of the Xenoblade Chronicles trilogy set in that one in particular Nintendo platform console, which still looks very impressive, sure, but all he needs left now is just Xenoblade Chronicles X, and that makes it a quadrilogy or something like that. Well, at least if depending on the forms of how the fact that if Nintendo is working on, you know, the next generation Nintendo console in the future, so... Anyway, so for the most part, this mission is self-explanatory, and once again we need to drive into that particular tractor beam right there, and next thing you notice, the mission succeeds. So, huzzah, and no problemo. But hey, at least it took us about 1 attempt.
I need another car.
Wow, imagine me getting carjacked. What a total switcheroo.
Just go.
What'll you do if I don't?
Flip you the bird.
Okay, don't get freaky. Get in.
And now we have to do it again, but this time around though, we're going to be driving onto Snake's car. So, yeah, we're going to have to do this all the time at this point, especially noticeable because, you know, we're trying to stop the alien threat and all that stuff though, so yeah, to be expected at this point, so... I suppose I should probably mention about this as well, I think, is the fact that, well, happy 23rd birthday for Stuart from the likes of Kept King 74, despite the fact that we still have not seen him ever since, well, technically speaking, that the last upload he did was actually by the forms of in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 delay in a nutshell. So yeah, because of this though, that he was really ticked off about the forms of that particular delay for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. But as a result though, that's as far as I can usually say about this. So yeah, as you can tell, we need to stay away from that particular car over there, and oh jeez, this is already not looking all that good. So yeah, it kind of reminds me of the informative in one of those mission segments, for the sake of the informative in level 5. Now we have to drive around with Snake, and the obvious difference is this time is the fact that we actually going to be taking control of Homer Simpson as opposed to Apu. So yeah, it makes a little bit more obvious sense. So anyways, let's go and be very careful, not able to get hit by certain traffic and all that stuff though. And yeah, because of this though, every time whenever you get into the forms of that particular segments like this, whenever you're trying to able to obtain a nuclear barrel, then you have to able to like, when you start this thing off, as in you able to actually go into a school playground area, because of that UFO just appears. But now that we need to drive back all the way to the forms of the power plant, and because of that though, if you manage to obtain the nuclear barrel, then basically it's your job to able to actually make your way to the very end of that particular segment of the mission, meaning about the fact that we're gonna have to able to avoid not only a lot of traffic everywhere, and also don't get screwed over just like that. So yeah, this might take a while, and unfortunately I failed this mission, so that's a bit of a nuisance anyway. Especially noticeable I was doing quite well, except the fact that, well, I think it's pretty obvious because that particular delicacy from that particular Snake's car is a bit fragile, you know. I've no idea why my tongue is actually getting twisted all of a sudden, so I do apologize for that. Yeah, I can appreciate about that specific, what you're trying to say there, Pac-Man, but, yeah, it feels like every once in a while is the fact that the timer itself might actually get a little bit more lowered than he forms of how it does it on part 1 of this particular mission styles like this. Well, it seems totally obvious because the difficulty is now gonna get ramped up ridiculously, so yeah, you probably get the idea of how this is gonna turn out to be. So, well, despite the fact that we haven't exactly heard from anything from Cap King 74 for such a long time, because aside from the fact that, well, relatively speaking, that for some reason he just goes like, I'm done with you guys, because as a result though, that, well, so far we actually still live for the sake of the forms of the YouTube community, because as a result though, like we already mentioned about this loads of times already, that, you know, we keeping up with the forms of the uploading schedules alike, especially noticeable because, well, Storm able to left out on most of those events. So anyways, enough about that specific topic, because obviously I just need to focus, and hopefully I'm not gonna able to fail this again, unlike the first attempt when I somehow messed things up. Because aside from the fact that, well, in addition with the forms of how the fact that you have to be super careful with that nuclear barrel, but also not to mention though, you have to be very careful not to activate the hit and run meter. So because that's why essentially how this goes between, you know, level 6 and this level, that you will able to actually activate that particular hit and run meter for a good amount of portions. So because of this though, that might be the only hardest aspect between, you know, not only level 6, but also level 7 as well. So yeah, don't expect that you might able to come across into a lot of frustration. So, well, nothing even compared to the forms of how it does it on the final mission in the game that most people seem to obviously have a complaint about. But anyway, let's just go and drive through here, and then hopefully I probably should able to make this at this point, I guess. So yeah, it actually requires a lot of concentration on this part, especially noticeable. You just don't able to screw things up beyond belief. So yeah, you probably get the idea about that. I suppose another thing I should probably explain about this, well, despite the fact that, well, Maxie has technically already mentioned about this ever since in, you know, in one of those parts in particular for, I don't know, it has been about a couple of days since we actually last touched this game, because, you know, after the events of about a couple of weeks ago since we actually last uploaded this game, because, oh, no, you stupid vehicle! Oh, you can easily just screw me up. Damn you. Okay. But hopefully you should able to make it in time, and boom, there you go. Now I just need able to get to the tractor beam, and there goes Snake's car along with Snake himself. And also I just really love the fact that he can also manage to able to track the actual the police car here and there as well. So that's actually pretty swell. So, with that being said though, I think we are literally onto the final mission in the whole game. Or to be more specifically though, Pac-Man, you pretty much onto the final story mission, so... But, seemingly to say, we're pretty much gonna have to save this up and doing at some point on Wednesday. So just in case, for the time being, I'm gonna able to actually do some side things to do. Like, for example, I still need to able to try to complete, certain street races, and on top of all that stuff though, just to collect everything, and oh no, everything else will be all settled when it comes to level 7 in general, including the bonus thing.
If I win this, you have to promise not to eat my brains. No. Deal.
So anyways, let's begin the final circuit race, and I have no idea why, I always attempt to able to go through certain checkpoint races or street races first before we, or after when I've decided able to go for the time trials for some reason. But either way though, it knows what it is, I guess, so... Anyways though, so here we go on to the forms of, like I said before, the final circuit race in the game, and I think this is to me is without doubt the hardest ones yet. That's only mainly because the huge emphasis on this particular circuit race is all about involves around crashing all the time. So yeah, you probably get the idea about the fact that how come Pac-Man decides to able to retry this mission quite a number of times. Clearly because of how the fact that this is what the missions or certain street races are now going to get a lot tougher, so... To be expected at this point, especially noticeable, well, at the very least that thankfully, once we get into the final time trial in the game, it might actually be a total piece of cake. Well, mind you, the only time that we've only screwed up for a little bit when it comes to time trial races sometimes was in level 4, and especially noticeable with level 6 most likely, so because of the forms of the track layout, so... But I digress. So I suppose that I should probably mention about this as well, is the fact that recently, Tarzan and Jane, you know, the actual direct-to-DVD, let's just say like a 3-episode compilation of any sorts based off on the Legend of Tarzan Disney series, that basically that particular film is now 2 decades old also. Well, despite the fact that it's been donkey's years since we actually last watched Tarzan and Jane film. Well, despite the fact that it's not necessarily a film per se, to me though, it's basically, like I said before, a 3-episode compilation into one particular package. You know, kind of like you did in the forms of that terrible Belle's Magical World. I mean, Jesus Christ, why did that film exist? Especially noticeable, it's bad enough that it just somehow gets a low budget and stuff like that. And on top of all that stuff though, some of these stories are so unnecessarily bad. And not to mention though, it's just the fact that, well, relatively speaking, the actual marketing campaign is actually false. Because, think for a moment there. Ah, jeez, I somehow managed to able to get screwed over as soon as I was gonna able to drive onto that corner. Ah, I'm gonna be crashing a lot, aren't I, for the sake of this race. Yeah, anyway though, so, but at least unlike any forms of how it does on the previous, racing challenges that you don't usually get trolled or in some cases slowed down every now and then from that, let's just say from the likes of Nelson's Sykes and stuff like that, and especially noticeable when he says like wanted loser and stuff like that from the likes of I think it was in level 5 as far as I'm aware. So yeah, that's just pretty much as far as we can able to delve for the sake of convenience, that is. So but yeah, as far as the forms of the actual the street race, as far as the actual difficulty is concerned, for the most part though, the time trial ones are very piece of cake, except in level 6, mind you. And as far as the forms of the other street races, as far as this is concerned, let's just say the circuit race, I think to me level 7 is the hardest one, just because it involves around a lot of crashing all the time. And as far as the forms of the checkpoint races are concerned, the checkpoint races are honestly very, very difficult. Well, at least as far as I'm aware, the only hardest ones in the game for the checkpoint races for me though, is definitely by the forms of in level 3, just because of the forms of some very weird AI for this artificial intelligence. So, yeah, you probably get the idea about that. So, in fact, that reminds me, have you guys ever watched Free Guy? Oh, we have seen it. Yeah, exactly. And so far, we do enjoy it. Yeah, especially noticeable. I just really love the fact that it usually has the main focus of that particular film involves around NPC character and stuff like that, named Guy. So, yeah, that might be explains all that specific stuff worth noting for, so... Okay, so it looks like so far so good this time around though, because thanks to the forms of some of these other drivers to sometimes manage to... Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on! Okay. Oh, that was a close one. Okay, so I just need able to focus right now because I just don't able to get crashed a lot. Although, thankfully though, that this particular circuit race does allow you to able to actually have the actual reg items. That way, if you keep crashing a lot, thankfully there's a reg right over there, so that way it can instantly manage to repair your vehicle for almost instant. Oh, screw you, you stupid little ghost ship. Or ghost boat, whatever you to be more specific. But at least you're pretty much gonna get this though, because I highly doubt it, Pac-Man. You will definitely got this. Well, for the most part anyway, so it's just the fact that sometimes it's hard to keep control sometimes, I must admit. Yeah, anyway though, yeah, aside from all that stuff though, that's as far as we can able to try to discuss upon it at this point. Oh, and by the way, if you really want to go through any other laps, in particularly from the likes of the forms of this circuit race in general, you have to turn around very, very quick. So just in case you don't able to actually just to go into reverse mode, or to be more specifically, drive straight ahead, and then you might get confused. So, especially noticeable with this particular track layout and stuff like that. So, yeah, that probably explains how that this particular circuit race is without doubt the hardest ones yet. But I digress. Okay, so it looks like we are getting there now. So it feels like that none of those players are actually not going to catch up to me or anything, because, well, they somehow keep on crashing into each other, so at least that's a good thing for my book. Yeah, so by that time you should be able to actually win this race within no problemo. Well, despite the fact that it actually took me about a couple of tries in order to able to win this race successfully, so... Well, at least as far as I can say about it, so... And, sure enough, you win! And that's all he has to say. So, yeah, not much else to it though. And apparently though, we got a mission complete notification as opposed to dive straight into the forms of that particular, the notification saying that one of those races is completed or something. Well, mind you though, it has been about a couple of days. Specifically 3 days ago actually, since we've last played this, so... Yeah, but anyways, let's move along now, and it looks like that Pac-Man is probably going to be able to, well, first of all, he's going to buy something in here. Yeah, specifically with this guy. So let's have a look. Hover bike, 1,000 coins! Oh, let's just buy that. So, although I was expecting if I was trying to buy the best car in the game, but I think I should probably do that maybe at some point in the next video, so... 65.6% done. So, yeah, it looks like you only got about one more street race left, and one more collector card, and exponentially, that you would be able to get something that's very rewarding if you do somehow manage able to accomplish that task. So, well, mind you though, because again, it has been a very long while since I actually did manage to come back into this game after all, so... Yeah, and also we do apologize for our commentary. It gets a little bit iffy for the most part because that's not much else we can say about this, so... Anyways, let's go ahead and move along, although we're pretty much gonna have to save the bonus mission for later, so just in case I need to do something else first off, so in this case, let's go ahead and, well, I can see there's a final collector card in the distance over there, so I'm also able to grab that in a second, but first off, wasp cameras. Yeah, so hopefully you can able to actually just to destroy them if you somehow manage to time your jumps and punches and what have you, but at the very least you got that, so... Yeah, that seems totally true for that circumstances anyway. Alright, so let's just destroy those box crates before we do anything. Yeah, because for the most part though, we're just gonna have to able to... collect coins normally by smashing box crates every now and then because, well, we feel like we're almost done with buying everything for, in-game items and stuff like that. So, yeah, because obviously we're getting very close. Oh, speaking of a devil, we have another wasp camera just up ahead. Nicely done for your parts itself right there. and I think I've only got about 150 coins left until I spend it on the final vehicle in the game, or to be more specifically though, anything else for that reliable. So, and it looks like that we actually got ourselves the Itchy and Scratchy movie ticket is now unlocked. So in this case though, we need to head back into level 3, but I think we should probably save that until for later. So let's have a look. 69.3% done. So yeah, it feels like you're missing one more wasp camera, just like the forms of how it does it on certain other levels and stuff like that. But that's okay though, because you still got loads of time left before we finish off the game completely. So, of course, we can never forget the core key march, just to able to actually find the exact same level gag here and there. Still a bit stuttery though, specifically in full motion videos, but to be expected at this point. So, but, yeah, we're still playing the arcade, and yeah, you probably get the idea of how this is going. So, yeah, there's nothing we can play around with around here, and, of course, we can never able to actually forget about those other level gags, like this machine right here, such as like so, and also this guy's still stuck in the freezer, and there we go, all the level gags have been completed throughout the entire whole game. So let's have a look. 73.4% done. So we're getting close though, folks. We are definitely getting pretty close. So yeah, because it seems like, you know, we're almost at the end game. So let's just have a look at the view cards here. So of course we're able to read all of these basically. So let's have a look, shall we? Soul Donut, and this is from the Devil and Homer Simpson. Okay, that seems totally fair for that particular episode's name. And next up we have is Krusty Doll, and this is from Clown Without Pity. And next up we have is Human Cookbook, and this is from Hungry Are the Damned. Okay, that seems kind of makes it a little bit more, I don't know what you would call it. So anyways, Time Travel Toaster, that's interesting. And this is from Time and Punishment. So, okay, seems standard. And then next up we have is Hell TOUPEE, or in this case, this episode is from Hell TOUPEE, I think that's what it's at. And also we have Monkey's Paw, and this is from Lisa's Nightmare. Oh, interesting. And finally, we have the forms of the, well, this particular calendar. In this case, Smarch Calendar, and this is from Nightmare on Evergreen Terrace. Okay. Seems like very standard stuff for those items, so anyways, let's begin.
Hey, Zombie! They have you working at the DMV now? Brains! Thank you, I do have nice brains.
So let's begin with the forms of the final street race in the whole game, and that's what appears to be of what else? Time trials. So, thankfully it should be self-explanatory right here, because obviously we're going to be going around in the track within a shorter amount of time, so it should be a piece of cake for the most part. Despite the fact that the only hardest part about this is though, is the fact that you will get crashed every now and then. So because of this though, thanks to that particular ramp, and especially noticeable with that particular invisible wall. So, yeah, because I wasn't expecting that the invisible walls do exist anyway, so. But for the most part though, each and every single lap is very, very short, luckily though. So I think if you're trying to play Mario Kart, or specifically Super Mario Kart most likely, because that game has 5 laps all things considered, so. Actually, speaking of which though, is the fact that we've only got about 2 months left until Mario Kart Tour will be eventually become 3 years old. Oh, don't remind me on that one, just because, despite the fact that we still get RMG when it comes to playing that game all the time, yeah, because of the forms of their stupid gotcha moments, and you probably name the rest. And that's all he has to say. And we got ourselves the Open Wheel Racer. So that might actually be one of the coolest cars that we can able to drive around into. So anyways, I think suffice to say, I think we should probably end things off at this point right here. So join us next time for more of Let's Play of The Simpsons Hit and Run. And that is the fact that we're able to go into the finale portion of the forms of the entirety of level 7 by going for the bonus mission and also dealing with the final mission in the game. And you probably name the rest. So we'll meet you guys back in level 3 on the forms of Wednesday. Later, fellas.